Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher and we're doing some Windwalker Monk. Prepare to be spammy. Oh yes, this is one of the spammiest spammy melee classes in the game, if not one of the spammiest classes of all time. I think only contended with the enhancement shaman really in terms of its spamminess. But still, it's kind of a lot of fun. It has its ups and downs, there's no doubt about that, and some people tend to go, oh, there's not many Windwalkers in raiding at the moment, but most guilds tend to have at least one, if not two, so you're not going to be struggling with your DPS. In fact, once you get used to this bad boy, you're going to be able to produce some horrifically good damage. I mean scary damage. There are a hell of a lot of things going on, but difficult to master. Now that's the important part. These things are difficult to wrap your head around, especially if you've been used to other classes that have a little bit of time taken, a little bit of control. The old Windwalker needs a lot of decision making, a lot of thinking going on, kind of like the Brewmaster, a lot of plates to spin, a lot of things to be doing. So I'm going to talk about your talent choices and your gems of reforge and all the usual bump. Then we're going to talk about how you actually play this bad boy. Okay, so let's jump into some talents. As always, level 15 movement abilities are important, but bear in mind, of course, we have, Flying Serpent Kick, which, let's face facts, is fucking awesome. So bear in mind when you're going to actually be doing something. Tiger's Lust is, of course, amazing. That Blessing of Freedom type spell for yourself, and, of course, increasing your movement speed by 70% has its use. I also like Momentum. Just that little bit of movement speed, so I'm actually able to do some things on the move. Should my Flying Serpent Kick be on cooldown? Always bear in mind, if you need to move Flying Serpent Kick, you can pick and choose when you land. It's very important that you master that. So pick whatever's best for you depending on the encounter. Level 30 kind of had a switch around for the past 5.3 stuff and 5.2 and 5.1 and concordantly is that in general only Chi Wave is actually a DPS increase, right? That is just coming from the maths guys. Chi Burst used to be really nice, but it's just not. We have so many abilities and so few global cooldowns to fire these sons of bitches off that in fact it's your Chi Wave, that quick Chi Wave, just firing it off, getting the job done, that's actually going to be the most important. As you can see, it does the bouncy effect. It's going to result in the highest DPS yield you can get, alright? So, sorry to say, not much choice in that tier if you're going for straight up deeps. A level 45, right, choices. In terms of raw maximum DPS, Chi Brew is going to be the one to take. Now, the important thing about this is that Chi Brew actually restores some Tiger Eye Brew, boom, and it also gives you Chi, which is vastly important to control your Fists of Fury. We're going to get to that later. Chi Brew pulls you out of the mire on a regular basis when you're trying to squeeze everything in at a perfect time. This class is all about timing. Really is so crucial that you maximize your timing. Think about it. Level 60, who gives a shit? Pick whatever you want. Leg Sweep is always nice if you're running some heroic scenarios or whatever, and your little 5-man stuff, that kind of shit. Doesn't really get its use in a raid. It's a little bit sad. Level 75, it's kind of only Diffused Magic is your choice. Don't get me wrong, there is an argument to be made for everything else, so go ahead and argue your heart out, but generally Diffused Magic, it is those big magic spells that really hurt the DPSers. We are a DPS class. We don't want to be taking too much damage because we don't do a lot of damage while we're lying face first in the dirt. Diffused Magic's the big one. Bear in mind though, it's a minute and a half cooldown. I've said this in pretty much every one of the Monk videos. Is Christ alive, that is a long cooldown. But a minute and a half, and it is going to save your ass on many an occasion. It really is. A level 90 is a DPS choice. Now, we're not going to be doing many Chi Torpedoes, so obviously that's out. So it comes down to Zuen or Rushing Jade Wind. It's hard to argue that Zuen is just fantastically better than Rushing Jade Wind. If you're going to be doing, say, permanent, constant AoE damage, Rushing Jade Wind might pull ahead. But that's not going to happen. So forget about it. Simple as that. It's just not going to happen. Zuen is going to win pretty much all of the time. Who is this guy? Give that guy a slap. Get out of here, buddy. Invoke Zuen is the way to go. Let's look at our glyphs quickly. As you can see, I've not even really filled them in. There's not a lot of great glyphs here. Some people will be like, oh, you have to take this. In terms of actual straight up performance, not so much. Not so much, okay? I always like the Glyph of Fortifying Brew, which reduces damage taken. I always prefer that over having more health. Straight up, always prefer it. And the Glyph of Spinning Crane Kick. If we are AoEing, we get some little bit of movement-happy tanks or mobs knocking things away. Then we like to be able to be moving at full speed while we're doing our AoE, don't we? We'd love to be able to do that. As you can see, I haven't even filled in the other one. It really doesn't matter. You've got things like Afterlife. You've got things like Fist of Fury. Your parry chances increased. It has its purpose. Don't get me wrong, it has its purpose. But frankly, most of them I just don't get. I just don't care. I really just don't care. They don't do much for me at all. I would like to point out the Glyph of Touch of Karma. Touch of Camera is an amazing defensive ability. It really, truly is. And it can actually be used in some situations. So bear in mind that glyph with a nice 20-yard range. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. But overall, don't worry about too much. We got left in the dirt a little bit with our glyphs, which is a little bit sad. Let's talk about our gearing. We're haste happy. Haste happy. Haste, 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 haste. We're going for, obviously, agility is really high up there as well. And it's really cool to see that we're going with a pretty standard DPS setup with our monk. It's always a little bit tricky when our stats are really close together. But quite frankly, haste is just superior because we're going to be firing a lot of abilities out on a lot of time, and we need to be generating as much power as possible. You see a little combination of tank gear going on here, so don't worry too much about the enchants. I have regemmed fully though, so we can see if we've got some nice set bonuses like 120 haste. I'm going to slap in an 80 agi 160 haste there. I'm going to do that. That's going to pick me up a nice set bonus. But if I have got those yellow sockets, straight up haste. And again there, 120 agi, nothing to be sorry about. I'm going to slap in again another agi haste gem. If I've got a nice blue socket and I want to pick up the bonus like 120 agi, I'm going to go haste hits. Hit is always something you can use more of from gemming and stuff, as it allows us to just reforge more stuff, especially when we've got items such as these gloves here. You have no haste on them passively. I'm going to go ahead and pull them off there. I don't want to be reforging those to hit by any means, so I'm going to pick up some extra hit here and there. And again, going all the way down. I did pick up a 90 stand bonus there. Not the best decision by any means, but don't worry about it. You're going as much haste as possible. Remember to get your hit and expertise caps. Easiest thing in the world to do, just check your stats. If you see that your special attacks have a big fat 0, then you're in good shape. Okay, target level 93, dodge chance 0. We want our dodge chance down to 0. Don't worry about your parry, you should be DPSing from behind. And our hit chance 0 as well. We want to see, we don't want anything missing there. Get your hit chance, use a Reforge add-on. I cannot specify this enough. I've done a video on my channel of Reforge Lite. Simply search that on my channel. I'd really recommend it. It makes life tremendously easier. It really does. It's so useful. Okay, that's the basics and the crap done with. How do we play this son of a bitch? First of all, you're going to install Tell Me When or some similar add-on because you need to be tracking a lot of stuff. As you can see, I've got quite a few things lined up here. Our goal is pretty simple. We have a couple of things to try and simplify. Your priority always is to keep Tiger Power up. Okay, you want to keep Tiger Power up. This is this debuff here that comes from our Tiger Palm. A lot of times via our Mastery, if I can generate some procs here, I'm just going to go ahead and generate some procs to spam some keys. Come on, give me a proc, give me a proc, give me a proc. Please give me a proc. Ah, well, screw you. Your Mastery is going to give you the opportunity to simply go ahead and get free Tiger Palms, but you need to be tracking it. So I want to show you, there's the proc there. You can see I got a free Blackout Kick, and if it came up here, free Tiger Palm. My add-on says there, Tiger Power's about to run out. So I want, in all cases, that to be an empty block. You want something that is accurately tracking your Tiger Power and ensuring it is up 100% of the time because it's such a huge DPS increase. Little tip for when you're doing your pull, guys, is actually use your Chi Brew. We talked about that in the talents. If I can just bring that up real quick. Your Chi Brew, which generates 2 Chi and 2 Tiger Eyes. As you're running into the fight, if you're starting with 0 Chi, your first attack should always be your Tiger Palm to get that debuff up, as you can run in and you can actually use your Chi Brew to get the Chi in order to fire off that Tiger Palm, okay? Your next mode of transport is to get up that Rising Sun Kick. It's a very powerful ability. You want to be using your Rising Sun Kick. You need to keep that on cooldown, so you want to be accurately tracking that. Make sure you're using it on cooldown, okay? Then you want to start using your other abilities. The tricky one comes from your Fist of Fury. Fist of Fury is a DPS increase, but it has certain conditions to be met. 1, it requires 3 Chi. It also isn't a DPS increase if you are delaying things like Rising Sun Kick for it. So what you want to do is make sure you use it almost immediately after a Rising Sun Kick, alright? That way they're not going to overlap. It leaves you with a second and a half or so to get back into a momentum. Use your other abilities like your Chi Wave, your Tiger Power, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that's on cooldown. Make sure you use your wonderfully stacked Tiger Eyes Brew. It stacks so quickly, guys, and you want to be using it at 10. Okay, it will stack up to 20, but 10 is when you want to use it. The fact that it overlaps is really cool because it means we can line it up with other things. We have a little bit of choice. We don't have to spam it the second it's off cooldown or anything like that. We can simply use it whenever we want, and then we can line it up with things like Zuen, Trinket Procs, all that kind of stuff to do massive amounts of DPS. Single target rotation, let me cover it very, very briefly. Tiger Power, #1 priority. In between there, you want to be using your Rising Sun Kick as much as possible. Your filler is going to be your Blackout Kick. And you want to try and fit in a Fist of Fury whenever you can. Remember to use it immediately after, really, a Rising Sun Kick, so they're not going to overlap. Rising Sun Kick is more important. That is just the way it goes. In between that, you're just going to be using your Mastery procs, and then making sure you're not really capping your energy and using your chi appropriately. You'll get used to it. There's a lot of abilities going on here, a lot of things happening all at once, and when you get a lot of Mastery procs, you'll find that simply you just can't seem to spend everything. Remember, if you're trying to line up a Fist of Fury, you have got your Chi Brew just sitting there waiting to help you out, okay? Your Chi Brew is fantastic for doing things like Tiger Palm, Chi Brew, and then straight into a Fist of Fury, okay? It's going to pull you out of the crap on many occasions. Simple stuff. It's going to be spammy, guys. It's really going to be spammy in your single target rotation. Remember your basics. Keep your Tiger Power up, keep Rising Sun Kick on cooldown, and in between, fill with whatever feels available. Try and use as many Blackout Kicks as possible, and then slowly work on getting good Fists of Fury out. Well, remember, this is not even easy while you're at a training dummy, so you can only imagine what this is like when you're in a raid combat situation. Let's talk about our AoE. Now, we've got this new spell. I kind of have to go over this thing, because personally, I just hate this thing. I'm not going to lie. Storm, Earth, and Fire. Look at the side. If your tooltip is that long, you've done the spell wrong, okay? That's all I'm just going to say. That's all I'm going to say. If you do this, if your tooltip is that long, you've done something wrong. So we have this Storm, Earth, and Fire. It is a DPS increase if it's only on the 3 targets, okay? So this thing can be used and abused to many different advantages. So we can drop some Storm, Earth, and Fire, and we can set our things off, and we can get our spirits doing their DPS. And you can see they'll go ahead. They're like a debuff, essentially. And they'll go ahead and they'll do their DPS over there. So if you've got a situation like this, then you're in pretty good shape. What I would say is keep a close eye up on here to see how many of these things you've got spawned. Now, the fact that we can debuff mobs with these and set them on their merry way is you could abuse them on, say, let's say Horadon's a beautiful example. We can leave these bad boys on Horadon while we go and do what we're supposed to do, which is DPS the ads, okay? And they're going to take full advantage of doing extra damage and doing all these bonuses, and it is going to be a DPS increase. You need to be keeping an eye on them, though, because if you are using them, if they're still up and you say, all these mobs are dead, we've come to this target, that's a loss of DPS. It's a loss of DPS. So anywhere between 2 to 3 mobs, you're going to get a good benefit out of your Storm, Earth, and Fire. Just don't be afraid to go ahead and cancel it. Suck those bad boys back in. You should be able to tell because you get a really absurd graphic when these things are doing their thing. You absolutely look stupid. I actually hate this spell. I think it's so awkward, and it kind of helped. Monks did need some way of cleaving. There's no doubt about it. I just thought this answer was absolute trash. If we have any more than 3 mobs, guys, suck those bad boys back in. We don't want them. What you do want to be doing is really simple. You just want to keep your Tiger Power up, your Rising Sun Kick, and you're going to Spinning Crane Kick. Oh, isn't that so much easier? My God. That's all you're going to be doing is just keeping Tiger Power on, Rising Sun Kick. Remember that debuff spreads. These are a little bit out of range. But you need to be doing this. Damage dealt is increased by 20%. Absolutely fantastic. You're going to keep that up and keep your Tiger Power. Really stupidly easy. You have the awkward phase, guys, where it is a DPS increase to keep these things doing their business when you're AoEing. But they suck. In my opinion, some people will love them. I just think they're very clunky, very, very just not fun at all. Really not fun. I remember, you have to manage them. That's the thing that bothers me, is you really have to manage them. And in the heat of the moment, you can sometimes be left in the tricky situation where there's one just left up and you haven't noticed. So make sure you're well aware that you have this debuff. The Storm, Earth, and Fire debuff, because it nerfs your damage if you're not doing it properly, okay? Keep an eye on your character's graphics. It can be a little bit difficult in that heat of the battle, I know. A couple of things worth mentioning is if obviously you're out of range, Crackling Jade Lightning is a DPS increase if you can't do any damage. Also, bear in mind, if things are out of range, you can abuse Storm, Earth, and Fire to actually attack things that are far away. They will do some damage for you, okay? So you don't have to actually be doing anything at all. And also your Expel Harm. A lot of people ask me to mention Expel Harm. It is important. It is absolutely important. Expel Harm is a benefit to you if you are seriously like below half health. Then consider using an Expel Harm. But other than that, you should be using Jab and use your Flying Serpent Kick to move around quickly. If you are ever in a moment, say you're really geared, where you just don't have anything to press for a moment, A super fast flying serpent kick that literally carries you 2 steps is a DPS increase, but believe me guys, that's advanced stuff and you'll barely see the benefit if you're not in a situation where you can't press anything, okay? It's a good AoE spell. Use it, abuse it, have fun with it. Don't try and overthink it by any means. You want to double tap it so you can land like that, okay? It will do a little bit of damage. I mean, a very little bit. So bear that in mind. Let's have a look at some gameplay now of all this in action and the chaos involved. Have fun with it. Try it. It's good. Bye, guys.